Hello, welcome to another Album of Record podcast where we are not all right. We will be talking about Foxing going on indefinite hiatus, which feels a lot more like a breakup. Before we get there, I'm going to say hello to Andrew, and we're going to talk about Turnstile and Greet Death because we saw some shows before we talk about our misery. How was your birthday
Hi.
and how was Turnstile? By the way, I did not go to the show. I wimped out.
Yeah, it was. So my birthday was a roller coaster because it started out with the news that Foxing was taking a hiatus, which I immediately read as a breakup for reasons we'll get into. But so that was a bummer. But then I forced myself to go to Turnstile, even though I've never gone to a concert by myself before. So this was a
Wow.
first for me. And I was actually like trying to talk myself out of it for some reason, where it was like, well, you're already home. Like, you don't have to go. But I went, and we'll talk about it here in a minute. But I'm definitely glad I went because it was a great way to finish out my birthday. I had a great time celebrating with my friends in Turnstile. So, yeah.
Well, let's just go right to it, man. So you've never been to a show by yourself.
Yeah.
What, is it
It's
just intimidation, laziness, all the above?
I don't know. Like, I think, like, I am a natural introvert. I'm a natural homebody. I'm very content just being at home a lot of times. And so if I don't have somebody to go with, I'm just as likely to be like, well, I don't know, like I don't need to go. But, the pull of Turnstile definitely won out, and I'm probably overselling it a little bit. Like, there was never any serious doubt that I wasn't going to go to this show. And again, foreshadowing, but I say always go to the show because you never know if that band's going to be around. You always think there will be a next time, and sometimes there isn't a next time. And so, anyways, so I went, and I actually like quite enjoyed going by myself. I found out because I could just go stand where I wanted to stand. I didn't have anybody else to have any consideration for. And especially seeing Turnstile, I could let loose and let myself look like an idiot and not care as much. And so that was fun. But yeah, so the show itself was unbelievable. I don't know where I want to start with this. First of all, the set list was unreal. Just unbelievable set list. They nailed this balance between every era of their career, and we got 22 shows, or I mean songs, which is more than they had been playing too, which was kind of cool. They just really had the crowd in the palm of their hands. And I think what I want to talk about first is actually just that, the crowd. This was easily, and I do mean this, easily the most diverse crowd I've ever seen at a show in my life. And I am talking diversity on every level: gender, race, age, gender identity, like all of it. Like, there were people from every walk of life at this show, and I've never seen anything like
Well, when I
that.
think of Turnstile, I think all are welcome except Nazis.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. It was there was you might think for a band like Turnstile there would be some form of gatekeeping too, like where I'm here for the old songs, and I'm going to stand there with my arms crossed when they play the new stuff, and or the other way around, like people like, oh, I'm going to go crazy when they do Never Enough, but I don't care if they're going to play the moshing songs from their old days. But like, it really didn't seem to be the case. The crowd reacted the same to every single song, and it was really cool, and it was awesome to see. Like, when I say every age, I mean I saw kids as young as like 6 and 7 years old there with their parents. I was in the lawn. I didn't. So by the time I got there, the pit was already absolutely packed. And I just didn't feel, in my age, like squeezing my way in there, or being that guy who acts like he's pointing, like acting like like you see your friend up front as you squeeze by people. I just didn't have that in me. I was just kind of feeling a little bit chill before the show. So I went to the lawn just to experience what a Turnstile show looks like from the lawn. And it was cool because I got to see like a lot of the kids really having fun with this show, which was super cool to see. And kudos to those parents. What great parenting to take your 10-year-old kid to see Turnstile. It was pretty freaking sweet.
Well, and you know, that's me, man. I've been taking my kids to shows
Yeah.
since the first grade, like ear protection and rock and roll, man.
Yep. And so it was awesome. Like the lawn was definitely more subdued than the pit. No, like no doubt about it. But the people in the lawn were into it. People were dancing, people were moshing, people were spin kicking and all of that. Like you saw a little bit of all of it. I really felt like this show felt less like a concert and just more like a celebration. It's just a bunch of people celebrating this band and this community and that environment. It was just such a shot of adrenaline in a world in which we've had so much negative news lately, to just go and like just forget about all that and just lose your mind to some incredible hardcore music for an hour and a half. And so that part of it was awesome. I can talk about a couple things that were cool for me as a longtime fan of this band. They did this. We got this incredible medley section of songs from Step to Rhythm, their first. It's technically an EP, I guess, but I always call it their first album. It's a hardcore album. But yeah, so after Sun Shower, the ending part of Sun Shower when it goes into like the flute part.
Yeah.
Well, rather than doing that, it like transitioned. They did like a little slow down part that then transitioned into 7, Keep It Moving, and my absolute favorite, Pushing Me Away. And those 3 songs just crushed. I don't know how the people in the pit area survived that section. Like it was just nonstop intensity. It was so cool. I love the fact that they do. I don't know. I haven't really been following all of their set lists, so I don't know if they always do this. But the I Care into Doll that they did on, was it Kimmel that they did or Fallon?
I can't remember.
I think it was Fallon. It was Fallon. They did Fallon. But so they do I Care into Doll, in that part they did live, which was really cool because that's the perfect way to play those 2 songs. Let's see, another cool thing they do, I love this, for their encore break, I'll put in air quotes. So they play Look Out For Me is the closing song of their main set. And then, the techno part in the second half of that song, they all just go off the stage while that plays and let just everybody just dance around to the techno part for a while, and that's their encore break. And then as soon as that's over, they're back on stage to do the encore, which the encore is Mystery, Blackout, and Birds, which is just
ludicrous.
Just an insane set of songs for an encore. I mean, Birds as a closer was just so unbelievable. I'm trying to think. They come back for more into Phase Out was awesome. The ending of Phase Out is so good live. I'm so glad I finally got to see that live, because the end of that song, I don't think you're probably familiar with this song, but it's from Nonstop Feeling. It's one of my absolute favorite Turnstile songs. But the ending, they're playing this heavy riff, and then they cut it down to halftime, and then they go down to quarter time. It's like they keep slowing down this heavy riff, and it's so freaking good to hear that live. Not to mention, like, the Comeback for More intro is like one of my just favorite things that they do live. They don't do the whole song, they just do the intro, but it's just like this. It's just one of my favorite riffs. It's so good, and it just gets everybody excited and moving. Oh, I should mention too, another pretty cool thing. So Blood Orange opened, and I'm not like going to sit here and say I'm a big Blood Orange fan, but I was glad I got there to see his set because it was super interesting. He's an incredible guitar player. But for people who don't know, he helped record a couple songs on Glow On, and they did Alien Love Call. So Dev Hines went out and did his part on Alien Love Call, which was so cool to get to see, because that's one of those things. It's only going to happen on this run of shows that he's
Yeah.
opening for them. Like it's probably never going to happen again. So getting to see that was really cool. For anybody who doesn't know, Franz, the bass player, was originally from Columbus, so it was a homecoming show for him. He's always the happiest guy on stage anyways, but he was having a blast. It was really great for a homecoming show for him. Yeah, I don't know.
Did you buy a t-shirt?
I mean, so I didn't, because what was funny is, so I went in and I couldn't find any merch anywhere. And I was like, did they stop selling merch already and break down the stand? But there was no merch. Well, I didn't find out till after the show, as I was leaving and we were walking out. The merch booth was on the inside. So for people who don't know, Kemba Live, the venue here in Columbus, it's kind of hard to explain, but it's an indoor-outdoor venue where it's like one big stage, and half of the stage leads to an indoor section. And so that's like I don't know, what would you say? Is that 500 people maybe that fits inside?
Yeah,
Is it bigger than that?
It's probably
1,000?
2,000.
2,000?
But it's
But
not,
I mean, it's not
huge.
massive.
It's about the size of a House of Blues, a medium to a small size House of Blues.
Yeah. And then the other side of the stage is part of an amphitheater that leads to an outdoor section that has the pit and then the lawn going up a hill. It's not a massive amphitheater. It's not like this one of the big ones, but it's a decent sized, mid-sized amphitheater. But anyways, yeah, so I saw the merch was inside, but there was a long line and I was tired, exhausted, my back hurt. I was ready to just go home. Old man Andrew was just ready to go home, and I was like, I'll buy a t-shirt online if I need one. So, but it was just, I don't know, it was just what I needed. I'm so like happy and fulfilled, like crossing this one off my bucket list. It's a band I've wanted to see for a long time, and it just never worked out for me to see them. And so I'm just
now
really
when they break up in 2 months, you can say I was there.
Yeah, exactly. I will say it was a little bit of a weird out of body experience when, like, I'm not going to sit here and proclaim I've seen every live show that's on YouTube, but I have seen a lot of Turnstile live shows on YouTube. And so it was like kind of a weird, surreal feeling to be there, like experiencing it myself. And I think there was also a little part of me that still felt a little bit like I wasn't getting the actual real experience because I wasn't in the pit. And I think I would have died if I was in the pits. Like after the show, I've never seen people so sweaty coming out of a show as I mean, it was unbelievable. Like there were people like gasping for breath, like in rough shape. Like Turnstile even has a station set up where they provide free water for people. Like that's how, like, this is not a joke. This is not when we talk about a pit. Like it's not where you stand there and maybe you get pushed around a little bit every now and then. It is non-stop, just moving of people, just every direction, pure chaos, pandemonium. Like, so a part of me felt a little envious that I still didn't get that experience, but I also have to be realistic with myself. Again, I'm 46 years old. I just don't think that's the place for me anymore, especially on a hot, humid night. I just think I would have struggled down there. But anyways,
yeah.
But that was my experience.
I think it's to your point about pits. Like I've been in a million pits before now at this point. But
yep.
I'll never forget Slipknot in 99 or 2000. After that, the first big tour after they really broke big.
Yeah.
And you're talking small club and a pit that you can't escape. Front to back, side to side.
Yep.
You're just in it for 60 or 65 minutes or whatever their set was.
Yep.
And a Turnstile pit, especially at a venue like that, of that size, there's just no escape.
Yeah. Yeah. It was intense to watch. It's cool because people do seem to look out for each other there. Like it's a general, like, you got to look out for everybody around you, but but still have a good time. It was just cool to see. The new songs sound great, by the way. I was curious about how some of these songs might, like a song like Soul, like how would that come across live? My still probably my favorite song on the album is probably Light Design. And I wasn't sure how that would carry over live. And God, did they crush that song live. And all of these songs have an energy to them live that that still is even above what's on the album. And
He's such a good
even the,
live singer. And
oh
I
yeah,
mean,
and
he's the ultimate front man in terms of engaging the audience and keeping things moving, and just his energy, the whole band, but his energy in particular is so infectious that you just can't help
yeah.
it. You just can't help it.
Yep. And the coolest thing he does this at just about every show. At the end of the show, he jumps down off the stage and literally does a greet line. He just walks along the front row, shaking the hands and thanking everybody for like I love and respect so much that this band, yes, they are making sounds and songs that are not hardcore anymore. They've moved into a different realm, and I understand that. But the spirit of what hardcore is still so baked into this band's identity, and like so that community spirit is just still there in everything they do. It's just like so many things this band does, I think, are just aspirational of how a band should conduct itself.
So
Like they
you said aspirational, and like there's something optimistic and almost innocent about them, where they refuse
yeah
to lose their innocence.
yeah and that's exactly it. They are just, and they've always been this way from the beginning, just unapologetically who they are. And they've never cared about what anybody within the scene or outside of the scene has had to say about them. They
But there are a lot
don't
of people
seem,
who try and pull that off with a negative attitude and a lot of salt.
yeah,
And
like a will show them kind of thing.
yeah, there's nothing
That's
defensive
not
about
there.
Turnstile.
No, not at all. And I think that's what's so authentic about them is just the fact that they're just going to go out there and they're going to play these songs, and you're invited. Anybody's invited. They don't care. There's no, like, truly no gatekeeping when it comes to this band. And I'm so happy for them to see, like, I won't say the lawn was absolutely packed. I'm sure there were probably tickets still available, but like, again, in the year 2025, seeing a hardcore band play an outdoor amphitheater and having everybody moving it all the way back in the lawn, I'm so happy. Like, this band deserves all of it, and I hope they continue to just be a model for the scene and what bands can do coming out of hardcore. I hope it inspires other hardcore bands to like try different things and not to be afraid of stepping outside of the box of what it's so often defined to be. It's just, I don't know. I'm out of words. I've used all the words I can come up
Yeah.
with to describe it. But yeah, it was just a truly great time.
All right, so let's go from one of the biggest shows in Ohio this week to one of the smallest. I went and saw Greet Death at a tiny little club called Musica in Akron. If it's at 100% capacity, I think you're talking 500. If you get 1,000 people in there, I would be absolutely shocked. And on a Monday
It
night, go ahead.
I was just say it skirts the line between bar and club.
Yeah,
Like, that line is pretty narrow between that place just being a big bar.
sure. Yeah, absolutely. And so it was a Monday night. They've been opening for a band called Nation of Language, which I've never heard of, to be honest with you. They're an
Mm-mm.
alternative indie band from Brooklyn, New York.
Okay.
And so this was one of their off nights where, they're doing some solo headline gigs in between shows or on little breaks. And first of all, there were two Akron openers, so two local opening bands that were really, really good. I've got to look up their names. It was too hard to remember everybody's names. But most people who were at the show were there to see the local bands. And a
Okay.
lot of people stayed for Greet Death, but I just couldn't believe how small the showing was for a band that I think of to the realm that I think of Greet Death.
Yes. Just to put that into context, like, we're talking about a band whose album is going to be a contender for both of us for album of the year. Like, and I mean serious contender.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's how good this band is.
Which, by the way, I looked. I was because I took a friend with me to the show who'd never heard Greet Death except the day of the show, just to bone
Hmm.
up for the show.
Sure.
And I was like, oh yeah, they get reviewed in Pitchfork, and so they get press and all this kind of stuff. Pitchfork didn't review their new record.
That's right. They didn't.
They reviewed the
They
EP, they
did.
reviewed New Hell,
Yeah.
but they did not review this new record. I know Ian Cohen interviewed them for Stereo Gum, I think.
Yeah. It was Stereo Gum. So this might be a byproduct of like the fact that Pitchfork only reviews 2 or 3 albums a day now. Like
Yeah.
they probably just don't have the bandwidth
How do you
to
not cover the
reach that far
waterfront of
out.
Greet
But
Death after you covered all their other stuff, though? That's
I
what
know
I don't get, especially with a record that is probably in the
there
realm of
was
being as good
somebody
as New
else.
Hell.
There was somebody else. Didn't we talk about this recently? Somebody else that Pitchfork didn't review, and we were kind of curious why when they
Yeah,
had reviewed all their. I don't remember who that was.
I don't remember
I know
either.
I'm sure we talked about it, but
But anyway, let me talk about the show. So this band is, in their own way, they're hysterical. The Logan, the one of the singers, the tall guitar player Logan, is the most sarcastic person I've ever seen in terms of stage banter. He's legitimately funny. He almost did like a bit about Olive Garden for 3 minutes
no,
in between songs, and it was engaging and funny, and he killed with it. They're also from Flint, Michigan, I believe, and so Logan
yep,
was wearing his Detroit Lions sweatshirt, and the Lions were playing the Ravens at the time, so he kept referring
ah,
to the phone on the stage that was showing the game, which was
that's great.
but they were absolutely locked in as a band. They opened with Country Girl, which is on the list of potential best songs of the year according to you,
Absolutely, yep.
and I can't
It's my
disagree.
favorite song on that album.
I don't even know if it's my favorite song on that album. It's a wonderful song. It's great.
Yeah.
Then I was kind of surprised. The last time I saw them, they had stopped playing "You're Gonna Hate What You've Done" because there was something from the EP that he said, this is basically the same song, um, and and it was kind of funny. And then I was listening to it at the last time I saw them, and he's kind of right. They're almost the same song, but
Yeah.
they did play "You're Gonna Hate What You've Done." It's sped up and it rocks harder now,
Mm,
but so it probably only takes 6.5 minutes instead of 8 or 8.5 minutes.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's just such an incredible song. The guitar melodies and leads on that one are incredible. They also play. I'm just gonna do highlights now. They played.
I don't want to.
Go
I
ahead.
don't want to interrupt your train of thought, but I do want to say while you were talking, I did remember what the album was, and it was the new "Home Is Where" album, which
Uh,
Pitchfork did not review right away, and we talked about it on this podcast. And then, like a day after we recorded, Ian Cohen released a review for Pitchfork of that album. So, anyways, back to Greet Death.
yeah. So they played Entertainment. They played "Love Me When You Leave." Same but different now. Ended the set,
Hmm.
and like for $10 on a Monday night with 50 to 75 people, I'm telling you, man, this is why I love small clubs. This is why I love following the bands that we follow. Yes, I love seeing Deftones in a basketball arena. I'm sure, you obviously love Turnstile in a mid-size, mid-cap venue.
Hmm.
But the idea that you can see a band playing songs from a record that you think is one of the best things you heard all year long in a tiny little club 10 feet from them where they're selling their own merch after the show. I did not talk to them and meet them this time, except I
Yeah.
did buy a t-shirt from the drummer. But
Hmm.
I totally could have if that had been in my plan, in my vibe, and they would have been agreeable. I could have bought the vinyl and got it signed by all the members. This is the access that you have when you go to these small club shows that you could not possibly get. Even standing in the front row shaking hands with Turnstile is awesome, but not what it
Yeah.
was if you ran into Turnstile 12, 13 years ago.
Yeah, for sure on that one. One of my favorite all time like moments was I saw Dead Confederate at this venue called The Basement here in Columbus, which similar to Musica, like it's a glorified bar.
I've heard this story
Mm.
multiple times. It's one of my favorites, and I just love it so much because Dead Confederate's amazing, and this is everything I love about small club music.
Yeah, like Dead Confederate was like my favorite band in the world at that time. Like I loved that band. Like they were larger than life to me. I actually had two interesting experiences where one was briefly talking to the bass player outside of the club before the show, but then my absolute favorite moment was going in through the merch line, the band's selling their own merch, and talking to Hardy Morris, their singer, and asking him about the cover song that they did, which was oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm going to forget it, but it's a Sonic Youth song, and I cannot believe I can't remember the name of that song now. And then he was just talking to me about like Sonic Youth and what that song meant to him, and like why they chose to cover it, and having like an actual conversation with a member of Dead Confederate, this band that was larger than life to me at that time, was just such a cool experience.
Yeah.
I also saw again, this is not a situation in which I actually talked to him, but I could have, and I wish I would have. But when I saw Titus Andronicus play their album release show for the Monitor, and this was at Used Kids Records. Now, I don't know how many listeners we have that are familiar with Columbus. Used Kids Records was a record store that was, you go up these dark stairs to this like tiny room on the second floor. And they were performing, if you were to say a stage, it was like the floor was like raised 2 inches off the ground on a little piece of plywood in the corner of the store that probably was used normally for display units that they just took stuff out, and like the band was just like crammed in the corner. But before the show, we were outside smoking outside, waiting to go in, and
As
Patrick
punk
Stickles,
rockers do.
yeah, and Patrick Stickles, the creative force behind Titus Andronicus, was hanging out outside beforehand. And me and my buddy are just sitting there, we're like, kind of nudge each other, like, dude, that's Patrick. Should we go talk to him? No, that would be lame. Let's be cool. All right, yeah, we'll be cool. It's like, now I'm like, you should have just gone and freaking talked to him. Like,
Yeah.
and especially if you follow him on Twitter, like, that's a guy who loves to talk to people about music. Like, he would have enjoyed just talking about music with us, I think. But he's an interesting character, but yeah. But the point is, you go to these like these just tiny little venues, and the access you have to these artists is such a cool thing.
Yeah. I back in 2004, I had a beer with David Bazan after Pedro the Lion played. He was just at the bar. I was just at the bar. I wasn't ready to go home. It was very
Yeah.
amazing. And I don't want to blow up his spot, but at the Greet Death show, I ran into my friend Rob, who is the guitar player in the Deer Hunter. And so I spent like 30 minutes talking to him about what's in store for the Deer Hunter this year, how to, we're going to have him on the podcast. He was talking about how there's 3 engineers in that band and how they
Mm.
built out their own studio and how their goals are when they're recording, and what they're looking to accomplish with their recordings and what they don't like in other recordings. He probably doesn't want to talk about that on the podcast, but, or maybe he does, I don't know.
Yeah.
But like, just knowing, I've known that guy for, I don't know, over 5 years now, and ran into him, and he's at the
Yeah.
show, and just, these conversations can't happen at an arena rock show. They just can't.
Yeah. And I looked it up because I had to satisfy my brain. The
Because you're
Sonic Youth song.
OCD and crazy,
Yeah.
and you couldn't possibly
Yeah.
live without knowing every last possible detail of the story you last told.
That's right. And so the Sonic Youth song was Teresa's Sound World, off the album Dirty. I just
Yeah.
totally blanked on the name of the song, which is crazy because I love that Sonic Youth album. It's probably my favorite Sonic Youth album. That or Daydream Nation. I don't know. But
Yeah.
anyways,
Well,
I
and
digress.
what's really funny is I was wearing my Holy Fawn sweatshirt to
Yeah.
the show, and my friend was asking me about Holy Fawn, and I couldn't remember the name Dimensional Bleeds of their last record that I fell in love with. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's a record you love. It was one of the top records of 23 or 20,
Yeah.
23 maybe. And
Yep.
I
I
can
think we've just hit a point, like at our age, where we've just consumed so much
yeah.
music that it's just impossible for the indexing system in our brain to keep up. Usually they'll come to me later. It just takes a while for my brain to
Yeah.
scan all of the files to find where the name of that song or that album is.
Well, I feel like we almost went too long to fit in all the foxing, but I got nothing to do.
We,
Let's set a record. Let's blow
yeah, we
this
got to talk
apart.
about foxing for
All right,
sure.
so foxing released. I heard a rumor. I don't. No, you sent it to me, and it seems like we were
They
ahead of the
sent
game by probably
they
10 minutes.
so they sent an email um Monday night
To the
to their
Patreon.
Patreons, giving us a heads up that this was coming. And I just didn't know how to process it. It hit me like a ton of bricks. Do you have the statement pulled up? You're usually the prepared one.
I'll
Um,
pull it up right
you,
now.
you know, they shared a screenshot of what the statement was going to say, and I was just devastated by it. It was just, I don't know, like, we're going to get into this here in a second, I think, but maybe if we just want to start with what the actual
Yeah, well, and
statement said.
but even before I read that, let's set the stage. They just finished one of the big tours that they've had in the last 10 years, where they were opening up for Coheed and Taking Back Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
They played Red Rocks, probably on some of the some of the best, if not the best, material of their career at some kind of a creative peak. You and I at least think it's some sort of creative peak.
Yep.
And
Yep.
then they just finished that days ago. And now here we are. The statement is, after 14 years as a band and 12 years of consistent touring, we've decided to take a hiatus from playing shows and writing or doing anything as Foxing. It feels really scary to say that this band has been completely inseparable from us as people for our entire adult lives up to this point. It is so much of our identity and our sense of self-worth in the world, but it has become clear to us that in our pursuit of our dreams and making the most honest and genuine art we can, our relationship with music, each other, and our sense of self without the band has eroded. We have decided to prioritize these things and need to step away from the band to do so. And then they talk about a couple of shows.
Yeah.
And we will come back if/when we feel that we have more to give. Thank you for everything over the years, Foxing. And so my first thought when I saw this was, all right, they're burned out. They need a break. But as the band started reposting and even kind of not commenting heavily, but just their little tags, it made
Mm-hmm.
it sound like, oh man, this is it.
It's my feeling from the way they've talked about it and shared this. I really think that unless they just absolutely I don't some kind of spark happens years down the road where they all come to a joint realization that they want this back in their life. That's the only way it's going to happen. I think the inertia on this is for them to not play again. And the sad reality is, like, they're not a big enough band probably to garner massive attention if they were to do a reunion tour. You're like, you
This
know what
is
I
not
mean? Like,
Axel and Slash, man.
yeah, like, and I think this is the part that's been weighing on me. I went back today and I reread what the Foxing guitarist Eric Hudson wrote on his Instagram the day they released self-titled just a year ago. It was September 13th, I think, 2024, that they put out the self-titled album. And in this post, Eric talked about how this album really represented how when he creates music, it takes everything out of him. There's nothing else in his life but the creation and the art. And that has negative consequences that I think we don't often think about to a real person. When somebody puts themselves out there like this, it's easy for us as the consumer to listen to it and enjoy it and have a celebratory feel to it, even on an album that's talking about very heavy and dark subject matter. There was always something that made me almost feel better listening to that self-titled album. Like it was like catharsis in some way. And I don't think that catharsis is always there for the creator. They don't get to enjoy the album the way we do as listeners. I think for them, it's just the give, and they don't get much of the take. And he didn't expressly say that in this. It was more about like the fact that he's sacrificed hanging out with friends, and he's lost relationships to this. He's maybe not spent as much time with people in his family and his friends before they passed away because he was consumed by the art and the spirit of creation. And I think all of that is true of a lot of artists, big and small. But I think that fulfillment, or that lack of fulfillment and the return, is something that can linger in ways that we don't often think about. And it really, like, I want to be careful when I equate this to something like what happened with Chris Cornell, because they're very different situations. But I think the core issue of what happened with Chris Cornell is like, it was like that realization that the fulfillment from the creation side of it isn't always there. Like, these are, when you hear the phrase tortured artist, that phrase exists because that's a very real thing, the torture side of it. They are getting out something that's inside them that has to come out in a way, but it takes so much of them. And so when he recorded and produced this album all by himself, like, he shared even pictures on this Instagram post of the room he spent so much time in. And it's not a big room. It's a fairly dark, enclosed, it looks like the basement maybe of an apartment or
It's
something like
definitely a
that.
basement with a suspended ceiling, tile ceiling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do
And
you
so,
want me to read it?
oh yeah, do you have it up? Yeah, maybe it'd be better for you to read it.
All right, this is Hudson on Instagram. As stupid as it is, I've thought a lot about what I'd write about the album the day it came out. Now that it's here, I don't really know what to say about it, so here's some thoughts. For me, it represents a lot of loss and disillusionment, exhaustion and defeat. I sacrificed a lot of myself and my health and happiness for what I was making. I think that's always been my relationship with creating music. This idea that I have to commit to it in a way that kills me and is ultimately bad for me. I think I've given up and lost love in my life due in no small part to how I go about making music. Not being present for the final moments of loved ones passing away, that all seems so stupid when I think about it now. I think all of this coupled with the way being online has come to make me feel uncomfortable created this album. So ultimately, I feel like for me that this album is for me is a monument to how I'd like to live my life differently moving forward, more healthy but still musical. I'm very proud of it, proud of my bandmates. I'm appreciative of being able to make music in my life and grateful to have been able to experience everything I have because of it. This is the culmination of everything I've been doing since I was 11 years old. And finally, I fully recorded, produced, mixed a record for our band on my own. That being said, I took these pictures on the day I finished mixing the record and sent it to mastering. These were the primary spaces I recorded and mixed it in. And then he shouts out some people.
Yeah. And so when you like put all of that into context, it was the self-titled nature of this album was intentional as well. Like, this to me was the ultimate statement of everything that is Foxing. They put literally everything they had into this album. And then you think about the way they promoted. So, like, have all that context in the back of your mind when I talk about what I'm going to talk about next. So then it comes time to promote this album, and the first single was Greyhound. And in order to announce the new album in their first single, they did something that I assumed was a bit of a stunt and maybe a tongue-in-cheek thing. And I think it was tongue-in-cheek. But I know that Ian Cohen mentioned that he got an invite to this press conference and didn't go. And for him, it was a scheduling thing. But what that means is these invites did go out to these outlets: Stereo Gum, Pitchfork, Rolling Stone, and they staged this press conference in which nobody is there. And I mean, literally nobody is there. And they play the new song, and they sit there and they play Greyhound, which, an 8-minute song. And then they had a manager or somebody is like, okay, the band will now take your questions. And the video is just 5 minutes of them sitting there in silence because nobody is there to talk about this album. And at the time, I don't want to overstate any kind of knowledge of how real of a commentary any of this is. It's art. It can be interpreted any way you want to. But when I think about these contexts and the dichotomy or contrast between these two sides of what it took to put this album and to feel like, to a certain degree, they probably didn't get the appreciation that they deserved for this album. They sort of became a little bit of a forgotten band. Like their run between Albatross, which was a big hit in the underground indie scene, and then Near My God, which seemed like was a breakthrough album in which they were going to be the next thing, and then they were just kind of forgotten about. And they put this album out. I
And
can't just help but
in between, they do the 10-year anniversary tour for the Albatross with the Hotel Year, where
yeah,
I think the Hotel Year, who'd been missing in action for years, was the clear headliner every single night
yeah, yeah.
and didn't give a shit about carrying on their career. We talked about that at the time of the show.
Which they were quite clear about. Whereas I think for Foxing, we felt, certainly when we talked about that, we talked about it in terms of like, this is a band on the rise who has a bright future ahead of them. And little did we know that this album would actually be the close of this chapter of this band. And I think that's what's hard for us as fans. It's like, how do we square the enjoyment we get out of this music and there's no other band that's going to come around that's going to fill the hole that's left behind. There's nobody else that's going to fill the Foxing hole inside of us for how much you and I love this band and
No, there will
countless
be
other
other
people.
bands, and we'll fall in love with another band, but nobody's going to do what they did. Like
Yeah.
nobody's going to do it the way they did.
Yep.
It's not even
And I
close.
feel
They're one of one. And I feel like, I don't want to overstate it. We have a lot of bands that we love to this degree. So
yeah.
Foxing for us is one of many, but in their own
Yeah.
way, they're one of one. And the connection that you and I have made with them personally with their music over the last
Yeah.
18 months, 2 years, I guess in my case, it's probably 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Like it's like a comet running through our lives, you know?
I think that's what's funny is I feel a little guilty that like I wasn't all in on this band from the beginning. I was a late arriver to this band and I always liked them, but I never like became obsessed with them until the self-titled album. The self-titled album is what really pushed me to the next level and became
I
where
didn't
like,
jump on board till Near My God. So
yeah.
I was here for Near My God. I got Draw Down the Moon as a new record, and then I got
Mm-hmm.
self-titled.
Self-titled. Yeah. Um, so I think what's cool about this band is that they do walk away without us ever finding out what a misstep sounds like from them. They have an unimpeachable run of 5 albums. Albatross,
And there's still a
Dealer,
chance that they're not actually done. That this is like
for sure. But
8 months. Yeah.
this era of Foxing left us an unimpeachable set of 5 albums. And every one is unique and does something different, which allows me to listen to them continuously because no matter what kind of mood I'm in, there's a Foxing album that fits that mood really, which is just such a unique thing. And I'm just so appreciative of this band. But I think I was kind of alluding to this earlier. It almost feels selfish for me to mourn my loss as music when they're saying, hey, we've completely lost ourselves and our identity in making this music.
Well, this is why I'm sad, but I can't be mad.
Yes.
But I gotta tell you, and I know you feel this way too. My sense of loss over the last day and a half since we found out that this band was kind of stopping. I am going to do everything that I can to go to Chicago on December 4th for the second to last show, the penultimate show. Like, I'm going to go out of my way to try and make that happen.
I alluded to this earlier, when they did the tour for the self-titled album, I bought a ticket for it. They played at Newport here in Columbus, and it was on a Sunday night, and I was out of town that weekend, and I got home late. It was raining outside, and I just decided I'm tired.
And for
I'll
those, for
catch
our
I'll
younger
catch them
listeners
next
out there,
time.
for the younger people who listen to this podcast, every person eventually gets sundowners. Every single person.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I mean, and I could have gone to that show, and
Yeah.
I was just, I'll catch them at the next
So
one.
you're coming to Chicago, right?
And then what's funny is the Taking Back Sunday Coheed tour came through Columbus. They played at Kemba, and a part of me thought I could go see them and be one of the few people there actually happy to see them. And that's, I don't mean that, like, that's probably a harsher than it needs to be, but watching some of the videos was a little disheartening of this tour because it was really cool for
No,
them to
we've
get to
talked
open for
about
those
this.
bands, but
Coheed
those fans
fans,
did not care
Coheed
about
fans are
boxing.
Coheed fans, and to some degree, Taking Back Sunday fans are Taking Back Sunday fans. I was actually surprised there was enough crossover between Coheed and Taking Back Sunday that there wouldn't be some
True.
sort of an exodus in between. You know,
Yeah.
these
But
things
yeah,
are
but so,
delicate.
yeah. And so I could have gone. And I was just like, that's awfully expensive. I saw Coheed last year. I don't really care for Taking Back Sunday. So for me, it was just like, I don't know. I'll just wait till they headline again, and that'll be the time I see them again. And
So
now
I
I
don't
don't
think
know
you
what
heard me before. So you're going to Chicago, right?
I really, really want to, but I don't know that it's going to work with my schedule. I have something the next day,
You don't have to get
work related.
specific, buddy. Just say I
Work
can't go.
related. Nah, I have something work related the next day that I don't know if it's going to work out, but I don't know yet. It's messing with me. I really want to go say goodbye to this band.
I wouldn't feel right going to St. Louis.
Nah, I can't go to St. Louis, but Chicago I can do.
Yeah. Like I don't want to steal a ticket from their hometown fans on the very last show.
Yeah,
Is that weird?
no,
That was my
no,
thought.
it's not weird when you see on the Discord, the Foxing Discord, people talking about trying to scrounge up money to be able to go to this. Like, I do want to be mindful of that, but I just would say that this is yet another example of the smartest thing Craig has ever said to me, which is always go to the show. And I
And
don't
by the
follow
way,
his advice near as much as I should, but
I need to give proper credit for that. We got that to our mutual friend Denny Mayo.
although that was a Denny Mayoism.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I gleefully stole that because it's wonderful advice. And with
Yeah.
that, Brooklyn Vegan was some writer
Yeah.
from Brooklyn Vegan was also mourning the loss of Foxing and decided to rank all their records. And now you and I are going to somehow hash this out.
We're going to do this. Like, it's a funny thing to do as the band's going away because, I mean, I think I can speak for both of us that we love all of these albums.
There are no losers in this catalog.
And it's going to be a very difficult thing. I'll tell you up front. For me, Self-Titled is a clear number one for me. It's my favorite of their
Well,
albums.
slow down. I'm going to bring up the presentation and we're going to drag album covers around. So for anybody who's watching on YouTube, you can follow along right here. You're just going to tell everybody what your order is off the bat.
No, it wasn't going to be the entire order. I just have two albums that are pretty easily in place.
We're going to start at the bottom, Andrew, like proper people do.
Okay.
All right. So there are two candidates for the bottom of the list, and none of them are insults because I love all of these records completely and totally. For me, though, I would probably put Draw Down the Moon at the bottom.
So for me, it's Albatross. There was a time that I always used to say it was Draw Down the Moon. It was probably only about 4 or 5 months ago that I was like, you know what? I listened to Draw Down the Moon and it just clicked in with me in a way it hadn't ever before. And I've listened to this album. I just listened to it today, or just earlier today. I don't think it's my least favorite of their albums anymore. I think Albatross is my least favorite of their albums.
All right, we're gonna have to do this on the fly, Andrew. You complicated matters. Andrew.
So for people listening on Spotify, Craig is doing some quick
so now we're
quick
gonna have
modifying in Canva
Andrews and Craig's. So
yeah.
Andrew has the Albatross, and I have Draw Down the Moon as the bottom.
Yep.
What's next for you?
So for me, Draw Down the Moon would be next.
Right. Oddly enough, for me, the Albatross would be next.
I think that this is where you and I
But by
seem
the
to
way,
disagree.
the Albatross for me, like I think it sounds a little bit antiquated. I absolutely love the revisited version of the Albatross where they brought in some friends and did covers and all kinds of different things. I think
Yes.
that's absolutely incredible and does more justice to those songs. I think those songs are better live today than they are on the record. The band
Yeah.
absolutely got better and got better at recording um after, but some of those songs like Rory and the Medic, they're I cannot possibly put those songs are such staples to their live show or have been that I can't possibly make it the last
Yeah. I
one.
mean, like, let's be clear. The last song they're going to play at their farewell show is going to be Rory, right? Like,
Oh,
almost
I think so.
certainly. Um, but like, this is a little bit of a difference between you and I. Like, so Albatross is their most just straightforward indie emo sounding album. And that's why it's so beloved by a certain sect of music fans. And that's great. But I am not a natural underground indie emo fan.
Yep.
And so I think for me, it's just a little bit easier for me to place that album as a whole um, down at number 5.
All right. What this is where it gets hard.
Yep.
All right.
I'm
Do
gonna
I
I'm
go
gonna make
first
you
or do
go.
you go?
You go
Okay.
next because you made me go first for the last two.
This one is absolutely gut wrenching for me. Uh, for me, it's down to um, Nearer My God and Dealer. And
Same.
so in personally, there is no better song than Grand Paradise on Near My God.
Mm-hmm.
It is maybe the best song that band ever wrote. It's the
Mm-hmm.
greatest show starter maybe in the last 20 years that I've been watching
Yeah.
bands play live. But for me, emotionally connecting with a record, I absolutely connect with Dealer more. And there's something about the fact that I love Dealer and only after the fact found out that it had been smashed, like panned by critics,
Mm-hmm.
including was Fantano, right? Didn't he just utterly trash that record?
Probably yes, because that was sort of the pushback to everybody who wanted more of Albatross, and Dealer is not Albatross. Dealer
So this
is an
hurts my
entirely
soul.
different animal.
I'm going Near My God, but I love Near My God so much. It's so good.
Yep. So I'm trying to think of how I want to
It's hard for me
rank
not to
these.
put Near My God as number one in
Right.
some ways.
Yeah. I think that Near My God is probably the better album. I think almost everybody universally would think so, but very similar to Craig, like I have such a powerful emotional connection to Dealer that I don't quite have with Near My God. Um and I don't know how to really explain it. But there's just such an emotional depth to Dealer and a power to the sadness of a lot of these songs that is just inescapable to me. And I think for me, if it's a personal list, I think if I was ranking like what is the best Foxing album, I would be more inclined to put Near My God second, if not first. But we're doing what's our favorite. And so
Well,
for me,
and
I
let me actually go
similarly,
backwards a little bit because if we're talking about like what's the better record, I truly think Draw Down the Moon is a better band with a better record later in their career, but
Yeah.
it's not the one that broke them. I thought it was interesting in the Brooklyn Vegan article where he I think he compared it to Pablo Honey, Radiohead, Creep, you know. Um like nobody would
Mm.
say that Pablo Honey is the greatest Radiohead album, but you can't take it away that it made everything else possible. And
Yeah.
there's only one record that they never would have done a 10-year anniversary of Dealer,
Right. Right.
but even still, I had to
God, if
put
they
my
would have,
personal
I'd have
stuff in a
bet
way.
I would have. That was one I wouldn't have missed though. To hear them do Weave live, oh
Oh my
my
God.
gosh, that would.
Yeah. It's just, I'd be interested to hear other Foxing fans and how they think about this ranking, trying to
I think
rank your
that I think
children.
that deal. I think that Dealer is super popular amongst hardcore Foxing fans. I
So
think for
it's like
casual Foxing fans, I think they would
the Weezer record,
be.
right?
Yeah, Pinkerton.
Pinkerton, thank you.
That I think they would. I think that the casual Foxing fan, I mean, because you have to have some familiarity with them, would say it's insane to put Dealer number two. They would say it is absolutely insane. I think Dealer would probably be last for most casual Foxing fans.
So wait, does this makes the first one Pablo Honey. This makes Dealer is Dealer the Benz and Near My God is Okay
N-
Computer?
that's interesting. What is well? Which one is Kid A? Is the real question.
Draw Down the Moon.
Draw Down the Moon is probably Kid A, but
And then
I
we're out of like the
well is
foxing
Dealer
there's no
maybe
con.
Dealer is Hail to the Thief. I don't know,
No.
but uh,
It's too good to be held to the thief.
that's true. I don't know, but for me the self-titled is the clear number one.
Can I
I
interrupt you before you go
oh
further?
yeah, absolutely.
So it is the number one right now as we're having this conversation, but I'm not so sure that if we come back in a year or two that this ranking is going to hold up. I love that record. I think it's unbelievable, but I can't tell you that when I listen to Fox sing over the next 5 years that I won't love Nearer My God or Dealer more than Self-Titled, even though Self-Titled is like lightning in a bottle. It's magical, it's beautiful, it's great, but I don't know that it's going to be the one that I gravitate towards over the long run, and I think my rankings could change.
That's fair. I think too it's a difference if you're saying 5 years from now versus a year or two.
Yeah.
A year or two from now, I'm quite confident self-titled will still be, because we're already over a year into its life cycle, and I don't know that I've gone longer than 2 weeks without listening to this album. Um, I I don't know, like I think it will probably always be my favorite of their albums, but I don't know. But I don't want to like retread a lot of the ground we already talked about, but I just think because of what this album meant to this band, the fact that they did it all themselves and put together such a powerful statement, and if anything makes me worry about whether it would be like my favorite 5 years from now, is that there is a little bit of in my head me connecting it to the turmoil of the society we live in today. And I worry a little bit that maybe it will always kind of the COVID effect, which we've talked about, that
Yeah.
there were certain albums that we feel like in hindsight we probably overrated because of that connection to that time. And once you're separated from that time, that connection breaks a little bit. And so it's possible that if our society's in a better place 5-10 years from now, that maybe this album would be more of a reminder of a bad era, and I don't want to go back to that and revisit it. And maybe I'll view Near My God as like the celebratory album, and that maybe that and Draw Down the Moon are like the two albums that'll be competing with each other. I don't know. Like it's
Unfortunately, I think
possible.
it's going to be Dealer.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is also the other way it could go.
Oh, I've always been a sad boy listening to sad boy music, and so Dealer is just a perfect record for me.
Yeah.
I'm sad that I didn't know it in the moment and that I only discovered it much later after Near My God was already out.
Yeah. Well, it's I'm right there with you. That's one I definitely had to go backwards to get to, but I don't know. There's just such a weight to that album. Like I like an album that has a physical feeling of weight. Like anytime you listen to that album, you just feel it. Like it just, I don't know. It's just like heavy weighing on you, and I think it's just so impressive for a band to put out an album that makes you feel something like that. And I think that that's like the thing that I'm going to miss about this band is this is a band that just always makes me feel something. I talked about that. Like no matter what I'm feeling, like there's a Foxing album for that feeling and that emotion. And there's just not very many bands that can really do that in this way. And so I don't know. I'm sad for myself, but I'm happy for them if this is truly like what they need. Like I want these guys to be happy. I want them to be fulfilled. I want them to, you know, I can't repay I I can't repay what this band has done for me. So all I can do is, wish them well, and if they ever want to come back and make more music, I'll be right here, ready to listen and talk about it and geek out over it like but, it's up to
No, and
them
that's
and I'm
and
not.
that's and that's part of the sadness too, is like in some ways it's on their own terms, but it doesn't feel like it's on their own terms. It doesn't
Yeah.
it's not when Minus the Bear went out and they're coming back. So I'm gonna see Minus the Bear in November after seeing them, but they kind of like hit their peak and they hit the things that they wanted to hit. They did a farewell tour. Two last shows after a successful opening slot on a national tour for guys that we know have day jobs and can't just like sit off at the beach in their mansions.
Yeah, yeah.
This doesn't feel like the celebration that you and I feel they deserve. And so I think
Yeah.
that's part of where the sadness comes from. And I'm with you, man, that I go straight from that sadness to going, I hear you. I recognize what you're saying. And as a result, I truly hope for better, even if it means
Yep.
less music and less art for me.
Yep. I don't know if you caught another thing that was funny, not haha funny, but like a day or two before the announcement, Eric Hudson posted a story on Instagram. He said something like, tomorrow I begin my new career as a plumber or electrician or something like that. And I just took it as oh haha, the tour's over. Now he has to go back to a day job kind of thing. Well, little do we know, like there might be more seriousness to that.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, I don't know. Look, all I would say is anybody who has listened to this self-titled album, why would you not go hire Eric Hudson to produce your album and
He's a studio
to
genius.
record your album? Like that album sounds amazing, which by the way, I'm throwing this in as a segue at the end of a hour 10 long episode, but
I
I got my
hate you.
Spotify loss list today
I hate you
and
so
I
much.
get to enjoy listening to the nuances of the recording of this album even more, which I'm so excited about. But yeah, listening this self-titled album just sounds amazing, and I've talked about this. The fact that
You know
this,
what? I'm happy you got Lossless first. You threw down the
yeah,
gauntlet.
I did,
You put a line in the sand. I
I
never
did.
did such a thing, so of course I didn't get it as fast as you did.
They heard me. They're always listening to us, so they heard
I
me.
keep refreshing, updating my app, and then looking, and no dice.
No,
I'm just not special like you, Andrew,
I have loss lists now on my Spotify account,
and
which
I
is
have
just
nothing but
it's just been
losses.
it's been such a thrill. I was listening to my way home from work, I was listening to Turnstile and I was listening to Nonstop Feeling, and being able to like turn it up really loud and not have the drums immediately break apart was just so good. Like the drums sound so crisp no matter how loud I turned it up. Like And I think that's the biggest thing about
I'm
lossless
glad I
is
got the new 2 terabyte iPhone 17 Pro Max so that I'll be able to have all those synced files downloaded at super high quality.
yeah, but it's just awesome. I'm so happy today for that. So,
All right, well, I think we've done the thing. By the time you hear from me next, I will have also seen The World is a Beautiful Place.
which I'm
And
excited to hear about that.
oh, I can't wait to tell you about that one. Well, I hope I can't wait to tell you about that one. I assume
Yeah.
I will not be able. Anyway, we thank you so much for riding with us. This was a long one. We covered a lot of territory. We do it because we love it, and we hope you're listening because you also love it. You can find everything we do at albumofrecord.com. We're all over the socials. YouTube is the place to get the best version of the show, even if you don't want to watch our faces. Sometimes we do a visual element that you can catch on the YouTube channel, as we did today. Thanks so much for listening. We will talk to you next time. It's been the Album of Record podcast.